Ew, why do I feel like one of those YouTubers that's making a video like breaking my silence or speaking my truth? That's not what this video is about.
Don't get it. What's the thing? Don't get it mistaken for that.
So, based on the title, you guys can tell that this video is like obviously really, like a really intense. My Patrick Bateman shirt. What the heck? My goal of this video isn't so people will feel sorry for me or take pity on me, but I want to spread awareness to the topic of sexual assault and how, unfortunately, how common it is for women or men too to experience it, especially by someone that they know. It's more common than stranger rape, and my experience was with somebody that I know, but my experience with the criminal justice system has not been good. It has been very, very unhelpful and very, very frustrating. And I, I, I don't know. I just had this feeling that I needed to share what happened to me to share it to the internet, like to YouTube, and to just raise awareness of the topic. Okay, I'm really bad at taking things seriously, and I'm like a pretty nonchalant person with serious stuff. Like, I remember when this happened to me, I was just like, okay, it's time to move on. Like, that happened in my life. It's time to go to the next thing, But obviously, I was raped. Like, that's not something, I guess, that I can just move on from and not have been affected by. If somebody is watching this video, I want you to know that you're not alone. It's not your fault. You have people that want to support you, and I will put resources in the description. Okay, so we're gonna get into the video now. Sorry, I had to change my shirt. I don't know what, I'm not laughing. I don't know what I was thinking wearing a serial killer shirt to talk about getting drugged and raped. I'm so sorry. Because I was drugged, obviously I'm not gonna remember like everything. And because it happened a while ago, I'm also not gonna remember everything. So I just wanna, like, whatever. Just say that. Okay. So this happened to me on January 22nd, 2022. I was 23 years old, and the guy who did it to me, his name is, he was 39 at the time. Okay, so was I gonna say he's 39 years older than me? No, he's not. He's 16 years older than me. I also want to say, if I zone out or look like I'm not there, or I start talking and then stop talking randomly, it's probably because I'm disassociating. Like, I haven't talked about this. I haven't fully talked about this, like from beginning to end in like a year and a half or 2 years at my last counseling session. So if I'm not like fully there, then it's like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I was 23. I'm 26 now, and he's 42. So this happened 3 years ago. And I met him at my church, which is cool. I also think that he's a psychopath. But I'll like get into that part later as well. He came to my church to visit the church, right? To find a church. And I saw him talking to my dad after the service, and I remember thinking like, oh, he's kind of cute. Like, I wonder who that cute guy is that's talking to my dad. So I like went up and I like interjected, and I like put myself in the conversation like a little girl. And he asked my dad if they gave tours of the church. And oh, I gotta say this, at the time that this happened, my dad was the chairman of the deacons. So like he was like the leader over all the deacons. And so I don't know if that's why Dan went up to my dad, but he was talking to my dad. So he asked my dad that question, and my dad was like, thought that was kind of weird because nobody had ever asked for a tour of the church. And I want to say this, I think the reason that he was doing that is so he could see how secure the area was, the property, and see if there were security cameras, if there were like security people, where the blind spots were. It was a part of his checklist. So my dad was just like, oh, we've never given a tour, but like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. So the three of us went on the tour. We walked around the property and everything, and then we came back to the sanctuary. And at the end of the tour, Dan was looking at me when he said this, but he was talking to me and my dad. But he was like,
Thank you for the tour. I really appreciate it.
a few Sundays later, Dan came back to the church. I was going away for an internship for 4 months. And okay, let me tell you guys this. I'm going to school to be a prison psychologist, a therapist for criminals. And so I was going to do an internship working with criminals, drug addicts, prostitutes, homeless people for 4 months, okay? I loved it so much. It was so much fun. And I'm still like in touch with the girls from the program. So my dad was sharing with the church that I was going away. And so they were going to pray for me or something. So that happened. So then at the end of the service, Dan came up to me and he told me, he was like, I want to tell you that like what you're going to school for and the internship you're doing is really personal to me. It really hits home to me. And I asked him why. And he said, oh, well, I just got out of prison. And like, I feel like a normal person would be scared or afraid of that person. Like, oh, they're talking to someone that just got out of prison. What the heck? But I didn't, even at my internship, I didn't have the fear of interacting or talking to these people or getting close with these people because I don't know, I want to help people like that, I guess. So when he told me that, I just asked him why he got out of prison. He told me, he was like, oh, I murdered someone. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? You know what I mean? But he explained it, and he was like, oh, it was self-defense. He was 21 when he killed somebody. And he said that he was married, and him and his wife were sleeping in bed. He saw that somebody was like trying to rob him and his wife, and so he shot them out of self-defense. He was like, Jessica, I regret, what did he say? He was like, Jessica, I regret that, but I needed to protect my wife and like my family, but he didn't have any kids, so he just needed to protect his wife. And I was like, okay, thank you for sharing, thank you for feeling like comfortable enough to tell me what happened. So that happened, and then I went away to my internship, okay? So I went away to my internship at the end of September. So that happened like a week or two before I left. And I could totally be getting that wrong, but I think it happened sometime in, yeah, I think it happened sometime in September. So I go away to my internship for 4 months. I forget about Dan, no offense to him. I forgot about him. I was so focused on my internship. And then I came back the beginning of January. This is actually not where the story gets juicy. This is just like where I interact with him more. So I come back from my internship, and then I go to church, and I give like a like a little report on what I learned from my internship, and I tell like my church people. So at the end of that service, well, the whole time, Dan, I guess Dan had continued to go to the church when I was gone, which, like, not saying he went for me, but I'm just saying, like, he was just still a part of his facade, right? So at the end of that service, after I shared, people came up to me, and then Dan came up to me, and he was like, Jessica, wow, I'm so glad that you had a great time. I'm so glad you learned so much. I'm so happy that you got closer to God, and blah blah blah. Like, all of these great things happened to me at my internship. Well, not even a month after I had been back from my internship, something bad would happen to me. He was saying all these nice things about my internship and how he was really happy for me and everything. And so then he asked, okay, wait, I think I can't remember if he, if my dad had found out that Dan was 39, because I thought that he was like in his early 30s, like 30 years old. The bro took care of himself. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he was a really good looking guy. But again, that's kind of like part of his little psychopathic facade. My dad had found out that Dan was 39. And so he told me, and I was like, no way. There's no way he's 39. He doesn't look that old. And his age was like an immediate problem for me because I had never liked anybody. I had liked people who were younger than me, but only by like a year or 2 years. But I had never liked anybody who was like over 2 years older than me. That was before I gave my little testimony at church. So then Dan said all those things to me, and then he asked for he was like, could I call you sometime? And I said no, but you can text me. He was like, oh, I'll take it, like, whatever, yay. Got each other's phone numbers, and then for probably like the next week or week and a half or something, we were texting each other, not like every single day, but just like, you know, getting to know each other. And I remember, this was part of his facade too, but he would, it's so weird that I'm like telling my iPad this, but I'm gonna post it, and then people are gonna watch it, and it's just so, it's so weird. But he would send me Bible verses, what he was learning about in his Bible study. Oh, another thing, he went to the men's Bible study that my dad was a part of, and he would go to their Saturday morning breakfast and Bible studies, and he would tell me, like, he would text me what they had learned during their studies. I was thinking, oh wow, this guy seems to be like really into his relationship with God. And I was like, oh, maybe I could like overlook the age thing, and it like isn't such a big deal because he seems to be actually a very mature Christian. So that all happened. And then we hung out. He kept asking me out. And I kept saying, no, I don't like how you're so much older than me. I wouldn't mind hanging out as friends, whatever. So he took that as like, okay, she wants to hang out with me, you know what I mean? And so we met up at a place downtown. Okay, wait. I told my parents, I was like, guys, I'm going to hang out with Dan. I know he's 39 and I'm 23, but we're just going to get to know each other. This is my location, this is where we're going. Okay. And they're like, okay. So, wait, I actually accidentally skipped a part. So oh my gosh, I totally skipped a whole entire part. So the Sunday that I came back and I gave my little report of my internship, and then he asked me if he could call me, he told me, he was like, I think it'd be really cool if, because you want to work with prisoners. I was a prisoner. I think it'd be really cool if you like interviewed me and got to hear what prison was like from someone who was in prison. Well, I was like high. Not high, but I was high from this internship that I had done for 4 months. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to. So we did that. And then, okay, so now this is me going to the first place to hang out with him. We went to a coffee shop downtown and we got to know each other. And it was so funny because, like, okay, he was 39. I have to keep talking about his age because it was so weird that he was so much older than me. But what I'm going to tell you guys is going to make it be like, oh, he was like way older. So I was sitting at the little table and I was waiting for him. And he walked in. I'm not going to lie, he looked really fresh. The thing that I could not get over is he had a little phone clip like on his pants and he had his phone there. And we like gave each other a hug when we saw each other, and I was like, Dan, what do you got going on there, your little phone clip? And he was like, oh yeah, it's really convenient, it just holds my phone so I don't have to put it in my pocket. And I'm like, it makes you look really old, you should take it off. I never seen him wear it again. I thought that was so funny. So like, I'm glad that I was like, able to help him out, like in that way, kind of. So okay, so we're at the coffee shop. We're talking. We're getting to know each other. I'm asking him questions about his time in prison. He's answering me, and he's like, "Well, Jessica, before we get any further into the interview, I want to tell you why I actually went to prison." I'm like, "Okay, sure." He was like, I did go to prison for murder, but it wasn't self-defense. It was like actual murder. And I was like, well, what happened? And this is the actual story of what happened. He was in the military. He was still 21 at the time. I don't think he was with his wife, but he was hanging out with his military friends. They had just come back from a club or a bar or something, and it was really early in the morning. They were in Dan's apartment parking lot, or close to the apartment or something. Well, they got into a fight. And so his friend was like yelling at him and like saying cuss words at him, and then I think his friend was like hitting him or something. And so Dan, who I found out had anger issues from the court record that I read, he, and this is why it was premeditated murder, by the way. He went from the parking lot, walked up the stairs to get to his apartment, went into his bedroom to grab his gun, left his apartment, walked down the stairs, walked back into the parking lot, and shot and killed his friend. He had all that time to think about, is this really something that like a smart person should do? Should I really shoot and kill my friend because we got into a fight? But he did. So he went to prison. So that's what really happened. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you for telling me the truth. I don't think he had told anybody at the church what happened. Like, I know he told my dad and maybe some other deacons and like maybe people on the security team or something that he had gotten out of prison for self-defense murder. But I think I was the first person that he told of what he actually went to prison for. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think he told me because I'm going to school to be a prison psychologist. And so if he shared something intimate, well, intimate's such a disgusting word. If he shared something really personal with me, that would make me feel like I could trust him and get close to him. He opened up to me about something very, very personal that people don't know. I'm putting the pieces together, you guys. I'm a little detective right now. Okay, this is where the story gets juicy. So, like a week or two after me and Dan had gone to this coffee shop together. We were texting. He was still sending me Bible verses and like, praying for you, Jessica, praying, like, have a good night, I'm praying for you, blah, 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 this is what I'm reading in my quiet time, what are you reading, whatever. Keep up the facade, okay? Well, he had kept asking me out on a date. Like, he was very persistent about asking me out on a date, and every single time I kept saying no. Until one day, and this is where this is like, I feel like this is on me, but one day he asked me out, and I said yes. And my reasoning, I guess, was if I say yes, he'll stop asking me. And also, maybe I didn't want to hurt his feelings because everything he had shown me seemed to be like pretty good, minus the murder thing, which like I could have dealt more, like been more okay with that than the age thing. I don't really know what that says about me as a person, so I agreed to go out with him. That was a mistake. And he picked me up. Oh, I gotta say this. He met with my dad to ask permission to ask me out, right? So he was doing all the right things. But again, he had to do these things for his little checklist. And okay, when I say checklist, I mean like he's a rapist. I think he's done this before. I will get into that later. But he had a set of made up things that he had to follow to make it seem like he was this perfect person. He picked me up on January 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. He came to my house in his black SUV, and that's like when like my life changed, okay? So, okay, there's this thing in criminal justice called victim precipitation, which it's basically somebody who becomes a victim accidentally victimizes themselves and does things that makes them a victim. So these are my examples. In my case, what I wore, I was flirty with him, I was touchy. What I was wearing, I am not gonna lie, it was a dress. It was a date, okay? I had dressed up for a date. I had worn this dress, these tights, these knee-high boots, and then like a little coat because it was January, right? And I straightened my hair, I put makeup on, I had like gotten ready. He kind of just looked the same, I guess. Anyway, so he picked me up right at 6 o'clock like he said he would. And instead, this is more to his checklist, by the way. But instead of just texting me, hey, I'm outside, or I'm here, he rang the doorbell. Like, he got out of the car and he rang the doorbell. And my parents answered the door. I was super nervous because I didn't really want to go out with him, but I kept like pushing that feeling aside. Like, I had a good time with him last time, I'll probably have a good time again with him this time, right? So he picks me up, we get into the car, and the very first thing that I say to him is, I don't like you like that. I don't want to go on this date. Girl, why would I say that? Not even a minute into the date. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And I said, I'm sorry, but I only said yes to going out, and I like told him everything. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I really don't like the age difference. I can't get past it. I can get past that you're a murderer, but I can't get past that you're 16 years older than me, whatever. And he was like really calm. He was really cool. And he was like, okay, well, I made reservations for this restaurant, so maybe we could just hang out, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, that's fine. Like, we can hang out, that's cool. So we drive to the restaurant, which is downtown again. And then on the way there, something happens. I can't remember what happens, but he like pats me as like some type of encouragement, but I remember I said that it felt like a dad pat. And he really did not like that I said that. But I can't remember what that was to. We get to the restaurant. He opens my car door. He opens the door, and he goes to the hostess people, and he's like, "I have a reservation for," and they're like, we don't really do reservations, but okay. And then we just go to this, like, we just go to the table, and we go to the booth, and it's like an open restaurant, but the booths are like in a C shape, and so they have like a little divider between each one. So, oh, I have to say, I lost my appetite. I learned you are not supposed to drink alcohol on an empty stomach. I didn't know that because I hardly ever drink. And so I lost my appetite from telling this guy, I don't like you. I don't want to go out with you. And then we still go out. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to drink because, like, I don't have an appetite to eat. So we're sitting at the booth. So I said it's like a C shape, and so he's like, we're on either side, either end of the booth. And I order a drink, and he orders a drink. And I'm like, what are you doing? He said, what do you mean? And I said, I thought you told me that you were like a recovering alcoholic, and part of your parole regulations was you're not supposed to drink alcohol. Like, wouldn't that be bad for your recovery? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know who told you that. And I'm like, you told me that. And he's like, no, I didn't. And he's tricking me. And I'm like, okay, whatever. If you want to relapse, you can relapse. That's on you. Sorry, I'm getting to like the actual bad part now, so it's like kind of difficult for me. Neither of us have food, and I'm drinking like all these drinks. I ended up getting the receipt of all the drinks, and there were like 5 or 6 drinks, and 4 of them belonged to me. Okay. I think he only had 1 drink. I don't even think he finished it though. I hardly saw him drinking it at all. As the night goes along, you know, alcohol, we get closer to each other. And here's a mistake. I go to the bathroom. I leave my drink. I think that's when he drugged me. And I'll talk about what drugs he used. He used 3 drugs. 2 of them were antidepressants. I think they were forensic countermeasures to just make it seem like, oh, she just takes these drugs on a regular basis. The third one was the most dangerous one. I won't tell you what it is, but it is an opioid that is 8 times more potent than morphine. It's a really, really strong drug, and since it's an opioid, it has to be prescribed, right? So, I guess it was colorless, I guess it was odorless, and it was tasteless. I don't know how he put it in my drink, but he put it in my drink. And I'm guessing it's the first time that I went to the bathroom. Because after that, I like don't remember a lot of stuff. So, sorry, I know this is a really, really intense video. But like I said at the beginning, the purpose is to spread awareness of how common this happens to people, and like these rapists just get away with it. You know, I feel like they're treated better than the victims. So, okay, so anyway, I come back from the bathroom, I'm drinking my drink, having more drinks. I think he orders a drink for me, but I don't say yes or no. I'm just like, no, whatever, drink, whatever. And then the waiter comes to our table with flowers and chocolates. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And I'm all drunk, whatever. And I'm like, what? Is this for our table? Like, what is going on? And the waiter's like, they're from your secret admirer. And I look at Dan and I'm like, oh my gosh, can you believe I have a secret admirer? Isn't that crazy? I wonder who it could be. Girl, it's Dan. It's part of his checklist. And he was like, They're from me. I'm your secret admirer. And he told me, he was like, I remember, this is very ironic, by the way. It's very sad, but it's very ironic. He was like, I remember you told me that you had never been on a real date, and so I wanted to make this date memorable. How evil. We're still drinking, and then we're really, really close to each other. We're like, our legs are touching each other. And you know how people act when they're drunk. I was being flirty, I was being touchy, I was being like, I'm drunk, like, whatever people are when they're drunk. I'm gonna be touchy, I'm gonna be flirty, I'm gonna be getting all like basically sitting on his lap is what I was doing. In public, bro. In the restaurant where there are people around on a Saturday night, like a busy night, and I'm like trying to give him a lap dance. Like, what the? This is not a strip club. This is a restaurant. You know what I mean? I told you guys that I was wearing tights, right? There was like a little rip in my tights, and I was I wasn't talking like in an ASMR way, but I was talking in like a kind of like a low, like I was drunk kind of way, And I was like, damn, look, there's a hole in my tights. I don't know how this happened. We almost kissed. This is the part where I like really, really don't remember. Somehow, we've left the restaurant. We're at his car, at his SUV. Well, I open, and I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go into like explicit detail because you guys don't need to know that kind of stuff. But I'm going to say stuff because it's part of the story. I open the passenger door to get into the front seat. The bro puts my stuff in the seat and then closes it and opens the back door. So like the SUV has 3 rows, right? And he like pushes me. I think he pushes me to the very back. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are we going to the back of the car? We need to be going to my house. And there's a white, like slushy, drinky, squishy container. It's a to-go drink. I don't know why I said it all weird. But it just magically had shown up in the cup holder next to me. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on? What is this? And he's like, oh, it's a to-go drink. You asked for it. I'm like, oh, I don't remember that. He's like, it's okay. You asked for it. I paid for it. It's fine. I'm like, okay. And he's like, you should drink it. I'm like, okay. So, okay, so yeah, so stuff happens in the back seat, and I will skip all of that, but I will say about my tights again. I told him about the hole, and I remember he was ripping my tights from the hole, and I was like, Dan, what are you doing? Why are you ripping my tights? You're making the hole bigger. And he's just like, it's okay, don't worry about it. So I don't know how long we're in the back seat. But then we eventually leave. We go to his house. Well, okay, it's his parents' house. Because he just got out of prison in April. And this was in January. I don't know what time it is. I don't know where I'm at. I'm like, I'm here. Some location that's not my own house. I'm drunk. I'm drugged. I can't walk. I don't know what's going on. And we go to his room. And I'm like, where are we? And he said, we're at my parents' house. We're gonna have a sleepover. I'm like, what? No, we have church tomorrow. I have to sing on the worship team tomorrow. I can't have a sleepover. And he's just like, no, it's okay. Like, everything's okay. And I'm just saying, okay, I trust you. So, his parents have a nice house. I remember that they have a nice house, and in his room, there was a bathroom that was connected to his room. We take a shower. I won't get into that. Out of the shower. No clothes. We get into his bed. Obviously, I'm not going to say what happens, but I will say like a running joke that I had said throughout the night, and I'm so glad I said this. Not knowing what happened to me at the time, I still was funny. Drugged and raped and drunk, I was still funny. Because he was trying to, like, do it to me. But he couldn't. You know what I mean? And so I was like, oh, maybe you're gay. And I kept joking, like, maybe you're gay. Oh my gosh, he hated that so much. But it was so funny. I ended up choking him, actually. I just ended up choking him. Not like really, really hard. But I liked it. Not in a sexual way, but just like I thought something bad was going on, but I wasn't cognizant enough to know what it was. But I knew that something was going on, okay? And I was choking him when we were, you know? And then he choked me back. But he, like, choked me and, like, pushed me off of him. But he was, like, gentle about it. So that was weird. So the night went on, and then I remember I kept saying, like, this doesn't mean anything. Just because I kissed you, I didn't know what else had happened, but I knew that we had kissed. And I was like, just because I kissed you doesn't mean anything. Like, that doesn't mean that I like you. This doesn't mean anything. And I kept saying that throughout the whole night. Then it was 7 in the morning. I had to go. He had to take me to my house. I had to be home before my parents woke up. So he's driving me home. Oh, but he doesn't give me my clothes back. He gives me a pair of his boxers and shorts, and he gives me my dress, my boots, and my coat. The other stuff he doesn't give me back. I don't know what's going on because the drug, the opioid, has like a half-life of I think 14 to 16 hours. And so the effects of it didn't wear off until I think I calculated like 9 or 10 a.m. that Sunday morning, and it was only 7 in the morning. He took me to my house. I can't remember, like, I don't think he said anything to me. He just gave me the flowers and the chocolate, and I think he was just like, I had a great time or something. And I'm like, okay, me too. Go inside my house. I feel terrible. Obviously, I can't make it to sing. I can't make it to church. And so I text my people. I'm like, I can't make it. I'm sick. I don't know what's going on. And then I just go to sleep. So it's now Sunday afternoon. Okay? And I have no memory of anything, right? I wake up to a message. Oh, he also doesn't go to church that day because my dad said that in the men's Bible study group chat. Dan was like, oh, something came up, can't make it to church. I wake up to a message from him that says something like, I had a great time last night. I hope you did too. I'd like to do it again or something. And I'm like, I don't really remember what happened. I don't know if I had a good time because I don't know what happened. So that was Sunday. So Monday afternoon, I won't get into like all the texting stuff, but Monday afternoon we meet up. Because he's mad at me or something because I'm like not answering his questions, but just because I don't know what happened. And he's like, we need to meet up. I'm gonna be at the gym. Meet me here when I'm done. You better be there. I'm like, okay, chill. So I drive there, and then we meet up. He's talking to me like a little girl. Like he's calling me little girl. He's calling me childish. He's calling me psycho and crazy. And honestly, I can't even remember what we talked about that Monday. But then we met up again on Wednesday because on Tuesday, I was really thinking about like what happened. Obviously, something happened for me to wake up naked both of us naked in his bed. That is so out of character for me. I like wouldn't do that with a guy. And I was like, I need to get some answers from him. Did I make a mistake? Did I have sex? I was like waiting until marriage, and I couldn't believe that I had done that, if that's what happened. So he's like, okay. I text him everything that I just told you guys, and he's like, Jessica, we need to talk in person. And I'm like, great, that sounds great. We meet up, we talk in person. I found out I was like, what? I wasn't on birth control. There was a 99% chance that I was pregnant. And I was freaking out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get an abortion. I can't have a kid, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Jessica, you can't get an abortion. As Christians, that's murder. You know that. We know that that's murder. We don't believe in that. But he starts talking about the future and like, oh, it's gonna be like a little Dan or a little Jessica, and we can raise them together. We'll be a family, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, I don't want this. I don't want to have a child with you. I'm gonna get an abortion. I am against abortion. I think abortion is murder. I think it's wrong. Okay, I don't care. I was speaking from my emotions because I was really thinking, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I got drunk. I had sex with this guy. I got pregnant. This is like the worst possible outcome that could happen. Well, it wasn't the worst possible outcome, obviously, because I was drugged and raped. So I'm like, okay, that's great. Okay, I forgot. He tries to blackmail me because I'm like, Dan, I don't want this kid. I want to get an abortion. And I'm like, what am I even supposed to tell my parents? And he's just like, well, I'm not going to let you get an abortion because as Christians, we believe that that's murder. And he's like, if you don't tell your dad what happened, like what you did by Friday, I'm going to tell him. Okay? So I called my friend. I don't think I've ever told anybody besides like one or two people this part of the story, but I called them asking for money to get an abortion. I explained the situation, and my friend said, Jessica, it sounds like you were raped. You need to tell your parents. And I'm like, no, there's no way that I was raped. It's more likely that I just got drunk and I made a mistake. Like, that would never happen to me. Okay. Well, it did. So I told my parents. This was on Wednesday, January 26th. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days passed. I tell my parents. My mom's immediately like, we're going to the hospital. We're getting a rape test done. Let's go right now. We go to the hospital. I get the test done. I file a police report. We go home at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I have to go into the police station to give my statement. Like, I can't remember what day I did that. But I did it like after I had gone to the hospital. So I give my statement, and everything is still like not feeling like it's real. You know, it felt like I was dreaming. And the detective, who I want to say was very, very, very unhelpful. He should not work in the special victims unit. He had no compassion, no sympathy, no empathy. As a police officer or whatever, any person in law enforcement, you have to be objective. You can't let your emotions get in the way. But why would you go into the special victims unit, like, acting like you don't believe the person, and then being so cold to them, but then being nice to their parents? I gave my statement to him, and he's like, is this the person who did this to you? And he shows me Dan's mugshot. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's Dan. That's who did that to me. The detective tells me we're going to bring Dan in for questioning. Dan never showed up to give his statement. And remember, he was on parole at the time. So his probation officer calls me one day. And he's like, hi, this is Officer blah, blah, blah. I'm parole officer. I just want to tell you that he told me this story, and I'd like to get your side of the story. I tell my side of the story, and then his parole officer is like, well, Dan said it was consensual, and then just hangs up. Like, why are you going to ask for my side of the story if you're not even going to believe what I'm saying, right? A lot of legal stuff happened, and eventually my detective sent the case to the DA. And the DA, the prosecutor, was like, oh, we don't have enough evidence to convict Dan of a crime. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, but I gotta say, I didn't know that I was drugged at the time. I just knew that I had been raped. But my mom was the one who suggested we get a hair toxicology report to see if I was drugged. She was the one who was like, oh, you're telling the story and there's like a lot of missing pieces. Like, you're missing a lot of time. I think you might have been drugged. And I was like, no, it was just the alcohol. I didn't have anything to eat. I didn't have any water. I was really tired. We called the detective, and my mom said because they didn't do a hair test. They just did the regular like urine test from the hospital, and all of that was negative, right? Because I think too much time had passed, so it would have been out of my system, but it wasn't out of my hair. And so my mom asked the detective, she's like, if we get a hair test done through our own lab and it comes back positive, could we use it in court? And he says yes. He's like, that's perfectly fine because Bexar County doesn't have a toxicology lab for some reason. And so you can totally do that. We're like, great. We do that. The results come back. 3 drugs that I don't take were found. We call the detective. We're like, here's the evidence that I was drugged. Do your job. And he's like, okay, we can't prove this in court. We can't prove. And the DA said the same thing. They were like, we can't prove that Dan's the one who drugged you. For all we know, you could have taken these drugs yourself. And we also can't prove that you were drunk because just because you have like the receipts of the drinks doesn't prove who had what drink. And I was like, okay, but if Dan told me that part of his parole regulations were he's not allowed to drink alcohol because he's a recovering alcoholic, and there's 5 drinks, and I saw him drink 1, the other 4 is for me. Like, I even went to the restaurant, and I was like, can you please tell me how much alcohol is in each of these drinks? And I'm really, really bad at math, so my calculations could have been like super wrong. But I was like way over 0.8 or 0.08, whatever. I was way over that. I'm gonna say it's a miracle that 1, I didn't get pregnant, thank you God. 2, that I didn't overdose and die. Because the medicine that Dan gave me mixed with alcohol, the opioid that he gave me mixed with alcohol, you are not supposed to do that. Then my regular medicine that I took mixed with alcohol, mixed with that opioid, not supposed to do that. So I'm gonna say I don't think his intention was to kill me, because I don't know what he would do with my body. Like, I mean, I don't know what murderers really do with how they be, but I don't think his intention was to kill me. I think it was just to rape me. And I'm gonna say it's really sad, like in a pathetic way, because I remember he told me that he hadn't done anything sexually with anybody since being out of prison. And I also got tested for STDs, which was the first time that I had been tested for that, which was like, I was like, why do you have to check me for that? He told me that he doesn't have any. But I'm like, but he's a psychopathic convicted murderer who, like, raped someone. Oh, and I'm gonna say, I think he's done this before because of the drugs he used. He didn't use, like, Rohypnol or other date rape drugs or roofies, whatever. He used a specific opioid mixed with 2 antidepressants to make it look like I just took those medicines. And then he also knew how much to give me so I wouldn't overdose and die. Like, I have to give him credit, he was kind of smart, a little smarty about that. All of this to say, is still not in prison. Because the DA is like, we don't have enough evidence to prosecute him. And I'm like, okay, girl, what's enough evidence to convict a rapist of rape? Because, oh, another thing about the hair stuff, when we sent it to her, it had been like past 90 days, like past 3 months. And so if they retested my hair for like the trial, it would have come back as negative. So all the evidence was circumstantial, but I was like, then what is enough evidence to convict somebody of rape? Because at that point it's just going to be a he said she said case. Criminal justice system, you have failed me big time. And I am sure you have failed so many other women who have been in my situation because there's not enough evidence. What's even scarier, I ended up finding out where he lives. Like, I wasn't able to figure out because, like, you know, I was drugged, like all of that happened, but I ended up figuring out where he lived. What's so scary, he lives less than 10 minutes away from my house, less than 10 minutes away from my church. I'm not trying to be mean to church people when I say this because I am a church person. We are very welcoming. Like, we should be very welcoming. And that is what Dan took advantage of. Church people are good targets because they're welcoming and they're inviting. And he took advantage of that. And I know that he has done this before. I know he's going to do it again. And oh my gosh, something crazy. I figured out his ex-wife's phone number. I did a little investigating, and I texted her, and I mean, she didn't respond because, like, why would she respond to a message that says, "Hi, you don't know who I am, but your ex-husband drugged and raped me"? I was trying to do my own investigation because the police didn't do their job at doing an investigation. Like, I went to the restaurant that I got drugged at, and I asked them about the drinks, which I told you guys that. I asked them if they had security cameras, where the security cameras were. Unfortunately, there wasn't a security camera in the area that we were at, and even outside, there weren't really good security cameras, and they were like, oh, we only keep the security footage for 3 months. And I had gone past 3 months. We had to do our own toxicology report that the detective lied and said we couldn't actually even use it in court. And then another thing is, they found, this is disgusting, they found Dan's DNA in me, and I gave that evidence to the prosecutor, and she was like, okay, well, this isn't a matter of figuring out who did it to you, it's a matter of proving that he did it to you. Okay, great. So we have a psychopathic, my own diagnosis. Don't be like, oh, this is professional. Well, psychopathy is not even a diagnosis. It would be antisocial personality disorder. But we have a psychopathic convicted murderer who is preying on vulnerable women, getting close to them, and then drugging and raping them, and then just getting away with it. I looked into his parents' past. They both have criminal records. I guess both of his parents are like criminals as well. It's really sad. And I didn't even talk about like the psychological effects or the aftermath, or I guess I could get into that a little bit. I became a different person, a completely different person. I was withdrawn, I was closed off, I was hyposexual, I was scared of men, I was scared of sex, I was scared of even being around a guy. Like, I remember guys had asked me out, and I would be too scared. I would just be like, oh, sorry, I got drugged and raped, so I'm not interested. And they'd be like, what the heck? Okay, bye. Um, Obviously, I did go to counseling. It wasn't very helpful, I will say, until my last counselor. She was probably the best. And I did learn stuff from her, which was cool. I do think I am better now because it's been 3 years. Oh my gosh, what was I going to say? 3 days? What the heck? It's been 3 years. Oh, I will say month 7 is the month where everything started to hit me. I don't really know why. I think it's because, like, I knew that I wasn't pregnant, but I think a little part of me wanted to have a baby. And so I kept thinking about, like, oh, 2 more months, and then my baby's gonna be born, which is like messed up of me. February, a month after it happened, I got fired from my job because so I had this job before my internship, and I left to go to my internship, and I still had the job, which was really cool. And like, 2 weeks before I got fired, I got a raise for just being awesome, for being an awesome worker. And then I got fired. And my boss, she texted me at like 9 in the morning, an hour before I was supposed to go in. And she's like, Jessica, please look at your email. It's very urgent. I'm like, okay. I look at it, and it's saying, like, don't come into work. You're fired. Don't bother coming back. And I'm like, can you please explain to me why I'm being fired out of like nowhere? She doesn't know what happened to me. But she just said that, like, she could tell that I was being very distant and very anxious, and like I would get my work done really fast and then ask if there was anything else to do so I could go home. But it wasn't because I didn't want to work. I just wanted to be an efficient worker. I didn't want to waste time, you know? I was just like, okay, well, something really bad happened to me, and obviously this is just an effect of what happened, of PTSD, whatever. And what was even sadder about it was that I had come back from my internship and I was telling her about my experiences, and then I found out she was a Christian, and so we talked about God, we talked about what churches we went to, like what Bible studies we had done, what God had done in our lives, and then she gave me a raise, and then she fired me. And I was like, okay, bye. So obviously I had PTSD. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this might sound kind of crazy, but I'm thankful that it happened because I know that God was protecting me by not letting me die and not letting me get pregnant. Because if I got pregnant, I'd have to like have a child. I wouldn't get an abortion. I wouldn't, even though I said I wouldn't do that. But I would have to have this child, and they'd be like 3 years old by now, and I'd like, Dan would want to stay in their life because psychopaths are good at like, oh, let me give you a child so I can stay in your life and like ruin your life. And I really feel like my internship prepared me for what was going to happen to me when I got back to Texas, because I had heard the girls' stories of they had been raped and how it impacted their life. But they're Christians now, and they went on through like all through this hard stuff, but they have God now, and they were just so full of joy. Like they were full of a joy that I had never experienced. And nothing bad had ever happened to me in my entire life. And I was like, why don't I have that kind of joy? Instead of bringing me far away from God, it brought me closer to God. And I know that that's kind of crazy, because I would tell people that and they'd be like, how did you not get far away from God? Like, how did that bring you closer to God? I don't know. God let this bad thing happen to me, but I've already seen Him use it in good ways, in ways that if it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be able to have the connections that I have with like some of the people that I can relate to about this stuff. And like also, because I want to be a prison psychologist, I want to work with women. I don't want to work with men. I want to work with women prisoners. A lot of them are going to have been sexually assaulted, and this can be another way that I can relate to them in a like on a personal level, and I'm not just like, oh, this annoying psychologist is coming to like tell me what's wrong with my brain, you know? Hope you enjoyed it. We live in a sinful world. Bad things happen all the time. We can be there for each other. We can support each other. If you or someone you know has been raped or sexually assaulted, you are not alone. It is not your fault. You have people that love you and want to support you and want to help you and be there for you. And I will be praying for you. I want to say thank you guys for listening to me talk about this really serious issue that is like, I'm not laughing. That's not funny. It's a very, very serious thing, but the way that I deal with it is like treating it like a case study, like pretending it didn't happen to me, and which I know is unhealthy, but I think it's just a way that I deal with it. And I'm still affected by it even 3 years later. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video, and besitos, 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 specifically for one person. Okay, bye.